This message comes from Doctors Without Borders. This year has seen unprecedented crises. Now more than ever, Doctors Without Borders patients need them. Visit doctorswithoutborders.org/NPR to learn how to donate.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Code Switch from NPR. I'm B.A. Parker.
And I'm Gene Demby.
Gene, were there any games that your family would play at holidays or like get-togethers?
Oh man, so on Thanksgivings, the old folks, so like my Aunt Carol, my Uncle Herb, my cousin Mark, they'll be up to ungodly hours playing pinochle at the table. It'd be like 2:30 in the morning. I would come downstairs from playing PlayStation with my little cousins or whatever. And they would still be going at it, like talking trash, carrying on.
Were there like rituals around it?
I don't know. Like, you know how you graduate to the grown-ups table? Like, I graduated to the grown-ups table, but I never learned how to play pinochle. And I kind of regret that now. And my ladies' family, though, they play this version of, the way it was described to me was poker from southern India called pana. But they play with these house rules that are so specific that it doesn't like translate to literally any other place. My wife, none of her cousins, none of them know how to play it. So it's going to die with the old heads. Anyway, what about you, Parker? What kind of holiday game traditions do y'all have in the Parker compound?
I mean, we are a spades playing family, although I don't think I have made it to the grown-up table in all of my years.
Right.
But it's mostly like cousins drinking beer with Clamato juice and calling each other, not so nice names when you renege.
Wait. Beer and like V8? What?
Look, it's not my ministry. We can ask my cousin Chunky, but like she is an aficionado of all things spades and community around it.
Do Chunky know that she be having these wild-ass cameos on Code Switch? She's legit the most interesting woman in the world. But like spades and Spike V8, that's wild times at the Parker compound. That's crazy.
I'll text her that. But Gene, today I want to talk to you about a different beloved holiday game that has ample opportunity for drinking and name-calling and general debauchery. Mahjong.
I have never actually played Mahjong. I think I've seen people play it, but I've never played it. Have you?
Well, I thought I grew up playing it, but it turns out I was just playing the computer matching game using Mahjong tiles. So like even now, it's on my phone, and I gotta remind myself, that's not it.
But as far as I know, it's not something you can play by yourself. It's not like solitaire, right?
No, you can't, Gene. In fact, it's very communal. So earlier this year, one of our producers, Christina Kala, went to a Mahjong meetup at the Smithsonian National Museum of Asian Art in D.C.
Okay, that sounds fun as hell. Okay.
Yeah, and it was an opportunity for Mahjong players with all skill sets to hang out and just play. From experts all the way to first-timers with mixed success.
That was a Cantonese family that was standing behind us, and they were talking to each other, saying that we're playing American style, which is funny because
we don't know what we're doing.
We're not sure what that...
And we were told we were playing Chinese and or Taiwanese style already, and then somebody said that we should have had more starting tiles, so I don't know, or fewer starting tiles.
Gene, turns out there are so many different ways to play Mahjong. Anyways, I spoke to the creator of the Mahjong event, Nicole Wong.
Okay.
She's the founder of something called the Mahjong Project and author of the book Mahjong: House Rules from Across the Asian Diaspora.
Mahjong is a tile-based game, so it's a game that you play with these chunky plastic tiles. So if you think of a set of Mahjong tiles similar to a deck of cards, instead of having 4 suits, hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs, it has 3 different suits. You're dealt a collection of random tiles, and then the object of the game is to take turns to get to the point where you have completed a hand, which is like getting certain combinations put together.
This is infinitely simpler than what I interpreted it as before I started reading your book.
This message comes from BetterHelp. As a dad, BetterHelp President Fernando Madera relates to needing flexibility when it comes to scheduling therapy.
I have kids under 18, so time is very limited. That's why at BetterHelp, our therapists try to have sessions, sometimes at night, depending on the therapist, or during the weekend. So I think that's what we need to tell the parents. We are not alone. We can help you out.
If a flexible schedule would help you, visit betterhelp.com/NPR for 10% off your first month of online therapy. This message comes from Doctors Without Borders. Now more than ever, the world is in crisis. Communities cut off from care, children facing starvation, families displaced. Doctors Without Borders is on the ground, providing medical care, delivering aid, and saving lives wherever the needs are greatest. Doctors Without Borders patients need them, and your support powers their life-saving care. Learn how to donate at doctorswithoutborders.org/NPR.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Adobe. Introducing the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio, now with AI-powered PDF spaces. Need to turn 100 pages of market research into 5 insights with a click? Templates for a sales proposal that'll close that deal? Or an AI specialist to tailor the tone of your market report? You can do all that with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio. Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat. This message comes from Jerry. Noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers, so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't overpay. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/NPR today. This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest. Start your risk-free trial at greenlight.com/NPR. This message comes from Charles Schwab. When it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
Okay, so you started these mahjong nights where people are coming together and playing the game. How have they been going?
They're so fun. I think 2022 is when I first started hosting them. I attended some mahjong nights before that. The idea that you could go somewhere and play was exciting. It was fun and kind of strange at first to be the person who was explaining the game, because when I started off, it felt very imposter syndrome.
You were a newbie.
Yeah, a newbie. And I was like, oh, do I even know how to do this? And so I actually, for my own benefit, created some reference guides, and which also kind of were the early stages of the things that are in my book of just like helpful diagrams. I couldn't rely on my own memory to explain it. I was like, if I make this picture, then I will just keep looking at my own picture of this thing. It's just it's a really tactile game. It's very sensory. The sound of the tiles being shuffled together, the clacking, people say that the clacking tiles.
That is satisfying.
It's really fun. It's fun to touch them and mix them up. You sit at a table, or, it's a square table, ideally, so you're facing 3 other people, some who you might not know, some who maybe you're catching up with. And it's just such an opportunity to kind of have that dedicated time where you are just playing a game.
I've never played mahjong. It wasn't until I saw Crazy Rich Asians that I realized what I interpreted as mahjong was incorrect, because as like a 90s kid, I would play the computer game of mahjong, which is just like a matching game.
Exactly. To be honest, that's probably my first interaction with mahjong also, was that computer game, because I didn't actually grow up playing. Because when my parents moved to the United States from New Zealand, they didn't play really. They brought their mahjong set and their tiles, but we didn't play. So I was in the same boat, and I think Crazy Rich Asians kind of like brought the game back into the cultural memory a bit.
My mom taught me how to play. She told me mahjong would teach me important life skills: negotiation, strategy, cooperation.
So what was the impetus for you to really just hunker down and get into mahjong and make this book?
I think there's a lot of traditions that people feel that we just defer to perhaps our parents or grandparents on being the keepers of the knowledge or the tradition. People think about food, cooking, special family recipes. For something like this, I think I just had the moment where I was like, oh, this is a thing that I want to bite off. And that just motivated me to take the time to ask my parents questions, to make a literal Google Doc, just start writing down very clear directions. But then especially, I was thinking about this when the pandemic happened, even more so, I was thinking, will our family ever get together again and be able to play mahjong? And if I want to be able to teach my husband and friends, I just don't have that literacy. So I just kind of hung on to that one thing. I don't speak Chinese. I don't read Chinese. It felt really bad to be playing this game that I had associated with my family so much and then feel like it was not something I knew how to do at all. And so, that little competitive side of me is like, I want to be able to play this game. I want to be able to keep playing this game with friends. And then I had this fear that if I don't actually take the time to learn how to play the way that my family plays, then maybe I just never will. It'll just get lost. Those things were compelling enough for me to just do it.
Was your family patient with you while trying to explain mahjong to you? Because while I was reading your book, it immediately reminded me of, in my family, learning how to play spades. I'm not a competitive person. And spades is a very competitive game, and none of my cousins would politely explain the game to me. And I was like, let me play it. I'll figure it out. Let me do it. And then I got berated the whole time. Like, why don't you know this? Like, I was like, because no one taught me.
Exactly. It's like, how are you supposed to know how to do something if you can't learn it? When I talked to my parents initially about this, they're like, oh, well, you just have to play more. And I was like, well, I can't play more if I don't know how to play. And I think that's exactly the conundrum of just saying, how do you take on those traditions and how do you carry them forward if you don't actually have that ability to absorb it? And so are my parents patient? I think, yes, they're patient. I also think that I am persistent.
Yeah. While you were collecting different people's versions of mahjong, what did you learn from that?
Yeah, so much. There's over 40 styles of playing mahjong. I was really interested in the styles that I didn't see written down much or hadn't been represented in other books that I could find at the library or what have you. So I really like to focus on styles within the Asian diaspora. That's also representative of folks who are coming to my events and getting the chance to just, one, nerd out about the specifics of the game, of the different moves you could make or the different number of tiles that you would play with. And then also just getting to talk to people and hearing about their family stories. You start talking about mahjong of how you play, and then it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. Is your family from Hong Kong? That influences your mahjong playing style. A lot of people wouldn't even know. They would know how they were taught how to play, but they didn't know what style it was. And so that's something that's been cool to help add to the scholarship of mahjong resources.
I am curious, what, a specific thing from a version of mahjong that differs from another. If you could give an example of that.
Sure, yeah. So the way that I learned how to play mahjong, you are initially dealt 13 tiles. There's Taiwanese style mahjong, which typically is played with 16 tiles in your hand, so an extra 3 tiles. So that's just and again, I never found the exact reason for that, but that is the way that it's done. It's worth mentioning American style mahjong here in the U.S., which is very popular.
Are we embarrassing? Is there an American? Is the American version just blasphemous?
I think the American style, it's been around since the 1930s. Mm-hmm. It is quite distinct from the Chinese style game in that it requires a card. That's kind of the most distinct part of it. It's a specific printed card that's issued every year. Mm-hmm. You'll hear people saying who are not Chinese, not Asian, who might say that they grew up playing the game as well. The American style has historically been associated with Jewish American communities. There's a long history of
one of my editors for this story, she was like, growing up, I just always thought this was a Jewish game because her grandmother was always playing it.
Right. So that's interesting. Right. So, and isn't that interesting that you're I thought that to think that it was just a Jewish tradition when it is a game that has Chinese characters on it. But
that's what I was like, wait, you see these Chinese characters, you're like, this is clearly a Jewish game. Okay, I want to briefly get into the history with you. You wrote that 100 years ago in the U.S., mahjong went viral and people were buying mahjong games left and right. Can you tell us about that history and how the game was introduced in San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was reading about this history, my jaw kind of dropped. What happened was that in the late 1800s, when China is becoming more open to Westerners, that is when there started to be some more exchange and flow. There was like an expat community in Shanghai and Beijing, so people learned mahjong. There was a businessman in particular who he spoke Chinese and so was able to learn the game and saw it really as a business opportunity to export the game more broadly. And so this was in the early 1900s, but it wasn't until a couple decades later that this businessman was very intentional about bringing the game to the Western world, the English-speaking world, and started to write the first manual for how to play mahjong in the English language, and then start to have mahjong sets produced and exported to the United States. So in the 1920s, it was like a very intentional effort to spread the game. They were having Hollywood movie stars play the game and being photographed. Mahjong was being marketed as this very ancient game that was really leaning on some Orientalist and racist stereotypes of Chinese culture, very common at the time. And so playing on this game as being something exotic and something foreign, and here's your chance to play it and master this game from the Orient. It wasn't until mahjong became more popular outside of China that China started to embrace it more as like a cultural identifier. There were Chinese Americans who were benefiting from this mainstream craze of mahjong. They were teaching, they were getting jobs. There were also white people who were dressing up in Asian garb and teaching mahjong. Game nights being held where it would be like Asian-themed parties, right?
You think it's creating diplomacy, but it also, there's like a slightly sinister thing happening in the corner that's none of our business.
Yeah.
I've heard you describe the inspiration for you to write this book being like inspired by cookbooks. And I wanted you to expand upon that a little bit.
Definitely. It was really comforting when I thought about how this is like a cookbook, because at first I had made a website and an Instagram account so that I felt safe in my bubble, my internet bubble of just saying, oh yeah, this is just a little piece of the internet that I'm using to just talk about the way that my family plays. With the idea of writing a book about it, I got a little nervous because I have not played as much as other people. Yeah, so in terms of like being the best player there is, and then now being the person who gets to write a book about it, figuring out how to both instruct people who don't have any context on how to play, but then also be open to the idea that this is just one way of playing mahjong was confusing. And so when I thought about cookbooks, it was really helpful because I thought about how when I look at a recipe, I'm not thinking that this person is saying this is the only way to make spaghetti. They are just providing their way of doing it. So I like the idea of being able to be helpful and instructional and practical, but then also be able to infuse the book with my own personal narrative and with kind of cheeky back of the book stuff like a snack guide or how to trash talk like an elder, just like funny things that kind of help encapsulate the culture around it that I am familiar with, that my friends and I are familiar with, and from the people that I talked to through the book research.
We all need auntie training.
Yes, exactly. I think in order for all of us to level up to be elders and aunties culturally, not just literally, but also there are some of these practices that we have to be a little intentional about learning. I think I'm really excited that I was able to do this book just because it really does feel like a generational transition. My grandparents have all passed away. My parents are around. I have a kid now. And so it's exciting to be able to spend time thinking about this like intergenerational connection and how mahjong is just one of many things, but something that I could contribute.
Nicole, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's our show. You can follow us on Instagram at NPR Code Switch. If email is more your thing, ours is codeswitch@npr.org. And subscribe to the podcast on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcast. You can also subscribe to the Code Switch newsletter by going to npr.org/Code Switch newsletter.
And just a reminder that signing up for Code Switch Plus is a great way to support Code Switch the show and to support public media more broadly. I don't know if you heard, we could use your help right now. And you get to listen to every episode sponsor-free. So please go find out more at plus.npr.org/codeswitch.
This episode was produced by Xavier Lopez and Christina Calla. It was edited by Dahlia Murtada and Leah Donnella.
And we will be remiss if we did not shout out the rest of the Code Switch Massive. That's Jess Kung and Verlin Williams. There's actually not that many people this week.
Everyone else in this episode.
As for me, I'm Gene Demby.
I'm B.A. Parker.
Be easy, y'all.
Hydrate.
Support for NPR and the following message come from HomeServe. It never happens at a good time. The pipe bursts at midnight. The heater quits on the coldest night. Good thing HomeServe's hotline is available 24/7. Call to schedule a repair and a local pro will be on their way. Trusted by millions. For plans starting at $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs. Support for NPR and the following message come from HomeServe. It never happens at a good time. The pipe bursts at midnight. The heater quits on the coldest night. Good thing HomeServe's hotline is available 24/7. Call to schedule a repair and a local pro will be on their way. Trusted by millions. For plans starting at $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.